Hello and welcome to Tranquillo Resort out here in Orlando, Florida. It's a very exciting day today because we have our first opportunity to test the new M2 by TaylorMade. Now, before I get into what I thought of the performance and the numbers that we were able to get on the launch monitor, just a few points about where the M2 sits, because some of you, I'm sure, will be surprised, possibly even a little bit disappointed that TaylorMade have launched something so soon after the launch of the M1, which came out around about October time last year. Now with M2, what you're getting is a lot less adjustability than M1. So M1 is the all singing, all dancing driver that has a movable weight in the sole that allows you to change your shot shape. It also helps you to dial in your spin characteristics. With the M2, you do not get that. But with the M2, what you do get is you get a speed pocket here, and you also get a lower, deeper center of gravity. And all that essentially works to make this one a little bit more forgiving, as well as offering a really solid amount of distance. So the difference between M1 and M2 really lies in the adjustability. M1 is for those people that want to get absolutely dialed in with their driver. M2 is for someone who wants a really solid performing driver, but possibly doesn't want to go through the whole fitting process, wants something that's more off the shelf. And with that, there comes a big difference in the price. So M1 was out there around about the 429 mark. M2 is around about the 329 mark. So a significant price difference, albeit both of them certainly sit within that premium section of the market. So we've had the range to ourselves this morning and had the opportunity to put this through a really thorough test. So I've had my own Titleist 915 driver out here. We've also had the M1 and the M2 just to see how the numbers that we were able to generate with the M2 stacked up against the others. And we were using the same shaft, this Aldilla Rogue, in all three drivers. Now, the big point to make about this, I think, is that the forgiveness that TaylorMade have built in actually is visible, and actually you do notice it. So the difference between my longest and my shortest drives, and you'll see it with the numbers that are flashing up on the screen now, the shortest carry was 261 and the longest carry was 290. Now that's 29 yards and that is quite a lot, but 261 for my shortest carry is really long. You know, I'm absolutely delighted with that. I think the 291 might have been a bit of an anomaly. There's certainly a point on the driver face, as there is with most modern drivers, slightly high and slightly out towards the right hand side, towards the toe, where you get absolutely hardly any spin and the ball just launches perfectly and it seems to go a little bit further. And I think that's what happened with that 290. So I'd say that one was a little bit of an anomaly. And I'd say my average drives with this were around about the carrying about 276, which is certainly comparable with what I would expect with my my own Titleist 915. Certainly the longest driver that I hit with that today was around about the 284 carry. So it goes to show that with the M2, TaylorMade are offering really solid performance, and that's exactly what they're trying to do. So if you're somebody that does care about how their driver performs and wants their driver to be a really solid performer, but maybe doesn't want to go through the whole thing of trying to nail in the exact spin characteristics or the shot shaping, or perhaps you're not consistent enough to really feel like you warrant that level of adjustability and customization, then the M2 is a great option. As with the M1, it has exactly the same sort of crown design, so you get the same carbon fibre on the back of the crown. And I think in previous generations, when we've seen carbon fibre drivers in the past, the worry there is that they won't sound, they won't feel right. They sort of sound and feel a bit tinny and not what we're used to. But with TaylorMade and the M2 and certainly in the M1, they've really nailed the sound and the feel of this driver. So if you are somebody that's been using titanium drivers for the last however many years and you want to thinking about swapping into a carbon fibre driver, don't worry about how this is going to feel, because it really hasn't lost any of that solid contact, that kind of that power through impact that you would expect from a TaylorMade driver. So the new TaylorMade M2 driver completes the family of drivers for TaylorMade in 2016. It's important to note that the M2 is not a replacement for the M1. The two drivers sit alongside each other, and the reason that this one comes out a little bit later is because TaylorMade want to give both drivers the opportunity to shine, want to give both drivers the chance to take their share of the market in terms of what people are talking about. So don't be surprised that TaylorMade have done this. Certainly there'll be some people out there that have invested in the M1, but what I would say is that the M1 is still the driver that you will be able to find better performance characteristics from. The M2 is something that everyone out there should be able to pick up and hit and produce really solid drives with. So there is a place for both drivers. Whichever one you go for will depend on how closely you want your driver numbers to dial in with your game. But the M2, a very, very solid performer and certainly one worth testing.